Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Ashley Bicknell. I'm a recruitment specialist for the University of Houston. So today we're going to talk a little bit about freshman admissions, kind of get going in that area. One thing I want to let you know is that throughout this presentation, there's going to be a lot of information. So if you have questions as we go, please put them in the chat. But note that at the end, we're also going to give our contact information so that you can contact admissions with any questions that you have about this admissions process that we're going to go over. So kind of getting started a little bit. When you start the application process, you're going to apply online through the Apply Texas or the Common Application. Now that application did open on August 1st, so you shouldn't have any issue accessing it. One thing to know is that when you fill out that application, there are a few things that you're going to do. One of the first things that you're going to do is just, of course, fill in that personal information, but then there's a couple other kind of questions throughout. If you're interested in the honors college, you'll want to indicate that so that that information can go over to them. If you're going to utilize a fee waiver, that's going to be a question. You'll want to say yes that you're going to use a fee waiver so that we can ensure that we have that ability to get that on your student portal later. The other really important thing that you're going to go through is that when you apply, you can elect whether you want to apply with test scores or without test scores. So that's going to be when you're completing that Apply Texas or Common application. So at that time, you're going to submit that application. You'll either pay a $75 application fee or indicate that you're utilizing a fee waiver. We do accept a few different types, the SAT, ACT, and NACAC fee waivers. So there are a few different options available to you. As you submit that application, you're going to get access to the MyUH portal to where you can kind of see the status of your application. There's going to be a to-do list there that tells you kind of what documents we might need from you. So in that area, there will be a place where you can either upload your transcript. Alternatively, you can have it sent through your high school, ideally through T-Rex, alternatively Naviance or Parchment. And then as well, if you're using a fee waiver, you'll be able to upload it there. There may be additional documents we request at a later time, but I'll go more into that in just a moment. And then with your test scores, you're going to have them sent officially from the College Board or ACT websites. So that's kind of that process a little bit. Keep in mind, once you get access to that UH portal, it's going to be your best friend. It kind of will give you updates all throughout, making sure that you turn everything in. It'll tell you when your application is complete. And it's also where you're going to find that admissions decision. So that UH portal is going to become, one of the most important things to you. So kind of leading in a little bit, how we actually do admissions at the University of Houston. If you plan to apply with test scores, we have kind of an assured admissions criteria. Depending on where you fall in class rank at the end of junior year of high school, there's going to be an SAT or an ACT that will guarantee admission. Now, if you're in the top 10%, there's no minimum test score. You're automatically going to be admissible to the University of Houston. If you're in the 11 to 25%, if you get a 1080 or a 21 on the ACT, you're guaranteed admission. Now, keep in mind, you only have to meet one of these. So if you happen to get a 1070 and a 21, you would still meet those requirements. You just have to meet it on one of the exams. For the 26 to 50% or non-ranking high schools, if you're at a non-ranking high school in the state of Texas, this would kind of be you, or out of state or international, it's going to be an 1170 or a 24 to guarantee admission. Now, if you're in that lower 50%, you're going to kind of go into an individual review. We definitely recommend having the highest test score possible, though, to remain competitive. So that's something you can really keep in mind. Now, one thing we know is that not everyone had the opportunity to test this year, or maybe you didn't get that opportunity to test again and you really didn't like your score the first time. Well, like I said, there is an opportunity to apply without test scores. Now, know that when you apply without test scores, we're going to look a little bit differently. Instead, we're going to look a little bit more at your high school GPA. One thing to know is that we're going to recalculate your GPA. So it's not necessarily the one that's appearing on your high school transcript. It's going to be one that we're going to calculate using the 4 core subjects. So math, science, social studies, and English. And once we recalculate that GPA, we're going to kind of use this chart again based off class rank. If you're in the top 10%, there will still be no minimum. You're automatically admissible to the University of Houston. If you're in the 11 to 25%, as long as you have a 3.4 or higher, you're guaranteed admission. If you have lower than that, you're going to go into an individual review that's going to be a little bit more holistic in nature. If you're in the 26 to 50% or at a non-ranking high school, you're going to need a 3.45 to guarantee admission. And lower than that, you're going to kind of go into, again, an individual review that's a little bit more holistic in nature. And then for the bottom 2 quartiles, similarly, it's going to go automatically towards that individual review. Now, one thing to know is individual review is going to be a little bit different for different students. In some cases, it might just be us looking a little bit more closely at your transcript, GPA, kind of seeing, did you have any rigor? Did you take any dual credit AP, IB courses in high school? So we're going to look a little bit more closely at that, just kind of to see what kind of rigor existed and the courses that were taken. However, we may also request some additional documents. Now, not all students will need to submit these, so please keep that in mind. It's only if it gets put in your UH portal that we would need these documents from you. So the first document we might ask for is a resume. The resume, really you can just include as much information as possible to tell us about yourself and the things that you've achieved in the last few years of high school. So this can include any awards that you've won, any leadership opportunities that you've had, as well as any extracurricular activities inside or outside of high school. If you've worked at all, please include that as well. And then any kind of volunteer work, something like that. The other thing is some students just have different circumstances. So maybe you help take care of siblings a few hours a day each day, and maybe that takes away time that you could be studying or working on homework. So that's something to also list in that resume, because it tells us a little bit more about you and kind of what your time is divided doing. One other thing I highly recommend, though, is that when you do that resume, include as much detail as possible. If you have a student organization that you're a part of, don't necessarily list the acronym. So like FFA, some students would put that, but really we'd prefer the full name so that we know exactly what organization it is, to kind of give us a better idea of where you're spending your time. Additionally, as well, if you can, try to include the number of weeks per year and the number of hours per week that you were doing an activity, just so that we see that you had something that you were committed to for a long period of time. And it's okay if some of those were short, sometimes it's just a single event. But if you have something you were doing for a long period of time, we definitely appreciate you letting us know that about yourself. The other component we might ask for is an essay. It's going to be 1,000 words or less. You can see we're going to have 3 different prompts here. Please note this might not be the essay prompt you've already written for a different university. These essay prompts are listed. If you go to the undergraduate admissions page of our website, you can find these 2 charts that I just went over, as well as the information on this resume and essay. So that's going to be really handy to know for later. But you'll either choose option A, B, or C. It doesn't matter which one. It's just kind of which one you feel like you can write the best essay with. Keep in mind, we're not as focused necessarily on grammar, spelling. We really want to get to know you as a student and learn more about you. So try not to focus too hard, just really focus on telling us your story and letting us getting to know you a little bit better. So that's kind of what those 2 components are going to look like. But again, just to stress, it's only if we request that information that you'll have to submit those documents. One thing to know, though, is at the University of Houston, certain majors do have additional requirements to guarantee that first choice major. So depending on the college, there will be different kind of things necessary. If you look at the College of Architecture, they're going to require a portfolio. If you go to the College of Architecture's webpage, they do have some great information on what they're looking for in that portfolio, but generally they're looking for kind of seeing that creativity that a student has. And so they're going to ask for that. The College of the Arts is going to have a separate application on their website that you fill out to be able to get an audition for music, theater, or dance. Any of the arts majors will either require a personal statement or a portfolio depending on major. So that is something to kind of keep in mind. And then there's also certain programs that may have additional score requirements if you're applying with test scores, or additional GPA requirements if you're applying without test scores. Those colleges would be business, engineering, natural sciences, and mathematics, and then hotel restaurant management, as well as the pre-nursing program. So all 5 of those are going to have some additional GPA requirements or test scores. Again, if you go to that freshman page of the undergraduate website, there will be a section with a hyperlink that says majors with additional requirements, and you can see those exact requirements for each college that you're interested in. One other thing to know, though, is that certain colleges might also have specific high school coursework that they're looking to see, such as pre-cal credit or something like that. And those colleges would be pre-nursing, the College of Technology, and the College of Natural Sciences and Mathematics. So highly recommend going to that majors with additional requirements hyperlink so that you can see that information, kind of know what we're looking for. So that's going to be kind of those requirements right there. But one thing to know is that if you don't start out in your first choice major at the University of Houston, a great second or third choice major when applying is going to be exploratory studies. Exploratory studies can be viewed as like an undeclared major. So if you really don't know what you want to do, that's kind of where you can potentially go. If you're a little bit uncertain right now still, if you go to the majors page for University of Houston, there's also a 15-minute kind of quiz that helps you identify some majors that might be a good fit for you. but alternatively, you could start out here. However, as well, if you don't start out in your first choice major, a great second or third choice is going to be that exploratory studies, because it's really known as like kind of a pathway major. It's to help you kind of complete that pathway to get wherever you want to be, whether that's engineering, whether that's the College of Natural Sciences, Mathematics, whether it's business. And we have different pathways that have been designed to help students get to where they want to be. For example, we have a business pathway program students sign up for if they're interested. They end up going to one meeting at the beginning of the semester, complete a few workshops, meet with an advisor. And in the first semester, they take 15 hours in a college level math class. And if they have a 3.25 at the end of their first semester, they get to be placed into business. So these aren't pathway programs that are designed to not see you be successful. They're designed to help you get to where you want to be. So that's something to really keep in mind, is that we're not like some universities where if you don't start out in that first choice, there's not necessarily a way to get there. There are a lot of pathways depending on the major to be able to get to that specific program. So one other thing, let's of course talk about money. That's always important. So you can see tuition and fees right up here. So this $11,569 for Texas residents is going to be if you were taking 15 hours both semesters full time at the University of Houston. For non-resident tuition, that's going to be about $26,839. If you look at room and board, housing is going to be about $9,750 to live on campus. You're not required to live on campus freshman year, but it is highly recommended. And so that's going to be kind of the average housing that can fluctuate a little bit depending on which residence hall you end up choosing to live in. Books and supplies, we estimate to be around $1,300. Of course, if you can always find it more affordable, we highly encourage that. And then when you add all that up, for in-state tuition, it's just under $23,000 for the year. If you actually compare us to some of those other tier 1 research institutions in the state, you will find that we are one of the most affordable. So, if you're looking to save some money, it's never a bad bet to look at the University of Houston. But we all like free money, right? Everyone likes free money. So one thing to know is that we do have a scholarship priority deadline of November 1st. So that application has to be completed by November 1st for us to be able to consider students for the Academic Excellence Scholarship. Now, please note, if you go to the freshman page of our website, there are some document deadlines if we haven't received like a transcript, SAT or ACT scores, or that fee waiver. You have until November 6th to submit those documents. If you're at a non-ranking high school, we're also going to request a resume and an essay, and you'll have until November 20th to submit those documents. So that's something to kind of be aware of if you're at a non-ranking high school. One other thing to know is that if you get at least $1,000 of the Academic Excellence Scholarship, you're automatically going to qualify for in-state tuition waivers. So for out-of-state students and international students, as long as you receive $1,000 of that Academic Excellence, you can qualify for a tuition waiver to get in-state tuition, save a little bit more money, which is always wonderful. So of course, again, you want to apply and complete as quickly as possible for that November 1 deadline. And that way you can be considered for that Academic Excellence Scholarship. Like I said, it is renewable. It ranges from $1,000 to $6,000 per year. So it can definitely save you some money. Now, one other thing to know is that once you're admitted, there are additional scholarships that exist from the University of Houston. A lot of the academic colleges, such as business, hotel, restaurant management, natural sciences, mathematics, have additional scholarships just for entering freshmen. Not every college does. Some make you wait till sophomore year to qualify. However, there are a lot of colleges offering them for entering freshmen. So that's something to be aware of. Additionally, I highly recommend looking at local scholarships in your area. Local scholarships tend to be a little bit less applied to comparatively to those national scholarships. Those are still great to go for, but some of those local ones of $500 or something like that can really add up over time. I know a student I had last year did a bunch of local scholarships and ended up not paying anything because she managed to find those scholarships that no one else was really applying for. So that can be a good opportunity. We do have a scholarships page on our website to kind of see a lot of different opportunities, as well as once you apply, there is in your Access UH portal an area called Scholarships Universe that'll help you find scholarships that might be more suitable to you specifically. So a lot of different ways to kind of be saving money while doing this. One other thing to know is that there is a financial aid priority deadline. The FAFSA or TASFA must be submitted to us by January 15th, and you have to be admitted at this time. So that's why it's great to apply and complete a little bit early so that you'll have that admissions decision. So that you get the best financial aid package possible. Now, the University of Houston does have a Cougar promise. So if family income falls below $65,000 per year, we can potentially cover tuition through FAFSA or TASFA using grants available to kind of guarantee that your tuition is covered. So at that point, all you'd be responsible for is housing as well as books and supplies if you were living on campus. The other thing that you're going to kind of want to be aware of is if your family income is between 65,000 and 125,000, we do offer up to potentially 2,000 in grants. So you still want to get that FAFSA in or TAFSA as soon as possible so that we can consider you for grant money if it's available. So that's going to be really important. Now, if you are a Texas high school student, it is now a graduation requirement to complete that financial aid. So I highly recommend, if you're doing it, definitely still apply and complete by January 15th so that you can still get the best financial aid package possible. Because right now you might be like, I'm not going to qualify for anything. I don't need loans. But you never know. Sometimes situations can change and you might need that loan. And it's kind of convenient if you already have that information to us. So that's something to really keep in mind. If you're looking into the Honors College as well, they do have a November 1st priority deadline too, just so that you know if you wanted to check that out. Now, we do have a program called UH&4. UH&4 is going to be kind of this 4-year graduation plan that the university basically commits that we want you to be able to graduate in 4 years, and you commit that you're going to graduate in 4 years. Now, there is a fixed tuition option potentially, so you can learn more about that at the uh.edu/UH&4. But for students, this kind of gives them priority registration, priority advising to guarantee that they get in those classes that they need to graduate so that they can finish in that 4 years. If for some reason at the end of 4 years, that one class that you needed isn't offered or you can't get into it, UH will do everything they can to make that happen. And if they don't, we'll actually cover tuition and get you in that class in a future semester so that we kind of keep our end of the bargain if it's our issue that you weren't able to complete in 4 years. So again, that's a really awesome program that the University of Houston has. You can learn more about it on their webpage. Of course, if you end up going to orientation, you'll hear a lot more about UH&4 at the University of Houston. So one other thing I want to cover is kind of the value of the University of Houston. I think you might have heard a little bit of this in the welcome session, but we are known as Best Value College by Forbes and the Princeton Review. When you look at kind of the data here, the average annual college cost for 4-year institutions is about $19,000 per year. The average UH student is only paying $13,000. Typical total debt upon graduating from a 4-year institution is about just over $24,000 per year, whereas the average UH student is paying is graduating with less than $20,000 in debt. Additionally, when we look at the average salary after attending a 4-year institution, it's less than $41,500 nationally, but the average UH student is making $48,900. So on average, our students are paying less for university, graduating with less debt, and making more money. And I don't know about y'all, but that sounds pretty good to me as a person. I'm always down to save some money. So that kind of concludes a little bit of this freshman admissions part right now. So again, this is our contact information. You can definitely still put some questions in the chat right now. We are still available. But then you can also contact us by phone at 713-743-1010, option 4. You can email us at admissions@uh.edu. And then we have different social media options as well to reach us by. So this is something to kind of keep in mind. We're happy to really assist you throughout this process and give you a little bit more information. I know that was a lot to throw at you in a short amount of time, so it can kind of, be a little overwhelming at times. But that is going to be the end of this right now for freshman admissions. We are about to head into a 15-minute break. So if you want to, stretch your legs, go get some water, take a break for a second and just step away, that's definitely an option. However, there is that optional breakout session with ambassadors from 12 to 12:15 to hear about why they specifically chose the University of Houston. So that's something to kind of keep in mind as well. All right, thanks so much for joining us. Of course, we're going to keep this contact information up for just a moment. Y'all have a great day.